Incoming. Hello. Welcome to an adventure? Can you hear me? I hope you can. I hope you can hear me, and that you can hear music, and that the audio is balanced relatively well. Is the music too loud? Which I know has been an issue in the past. I'm actually going to bump it down just a titch. I don't seem to be able to control the volume of it in my ears, which, you know, that is just as things happen, because of course I can't control how loud it is to me. But hopefully it's not too loud for you all. Very slightly loud, but otherwise all is well. Well, I have bumped it down a bit, so hopefully that's good. If you're a regular viewer, you know that I have to set up the setup physically every week. I don't get to leave it in place. And that I've been trying to do some adjustments to how things work. I finally, I think, have everything set up so that I'm able to do appropriate adjustments to things like that volume right here, instead of not really having that level of control, but like everything is at my fingertips. Anyway, welcome to Archival Adventures for Wednesday, October the 11th. And today happens to be Ask an Archivist Day. So we've been basically doing Ask Me Anything all day long over on our social media account for the department. And I figured might as well do the same here, although it is Ask Me Anything Archives edition. So like, I'm free to veto questions, but they should be archives related. I do have collections, because part of what we're going to do today is I'm gonna pull back the curtain slightly and show a little bit of what happens when we process a collection here. And so I've got a couple of those. It is also October the 11th, which is coming out day. So I do have one. It was the one unprocessed collection that said it was LGBTQ focused. It is audio cassettes. I believe I have them set up so that I can play them and you will hear them. We'll see. So that'll be fun times. But hello, Key Squared. It is good to see you. I do see the question, hi, how are you? I'm generally doing okay-ish, I guess. I have not been sleeping very well, so I'm a little scattered, but I think, like, I'm not dripping with sweat because I didn't have to rush around like a dynamo just to get everything set up today. I actually felt like I had enough time to do the setup I needed to do, which is weird. Also, I should say hello to Lord Portico, hello Hannah, and anybody else who's here. Blue Rooster, hello, it is good to see you. Lord Portico and Hannah, if you check over on the other channel, you should be able to eliminate bots over there, because I just went ahead and like set it up so that you can assist in that fashion. Anyway, before we dive into looking at all of the things, we like to start with a look at Virginia Tech's history and an acknowledgement that it hasn't always been great. Virginia Tech acknowledges that we live and work on the Tutelo and Monacan people's homeland, and we recognize their continued relationships with their lands and waterways. We further acknowledge that the Morrill Land Grant College Act of 1862 enabled the Commonwealth of Virginia to finance and found Virginia Tech through the forced removal of Native nations from their lands in Western territories. We understand that honoring Native peoples without explicit material commitments falls short of our institutional responsibilities. Through sustained, transparent, and meaningful engagement with the Tutelo and Monacan peoples and other Native nations, we commit to changing the trajectory of Virginia Tech's history by increasing Indigenous student, staff, and faculty recruitment and retention, diversifying course offerings, and meeting the growing needs of all Virginia tribes and supporting their sovereignty. Virginia Tech acknowledges that its Blacksburg campus sits partly on land that was previously the site of the Smithfield and Solitude plantations, owned by members of the Preston family. Between the 1770s and the 1860s, the Prestons and other local white families that owned parcels of what became Virginia Tech also owned hundreds of enslaved people. We acknowledge that enslaved black people generated wealth that financed the predecessor institution to Virginia Tech, the Preston and Olin Institute, and they also worked on construction of its building. Not until 1953, however, was the first black student permitted to enroll through Not until 1953, however, was the first black student permitted to enroll. Through inclusive VT, the institutional and individual commitment to Ed Pro Sim that I may serve, in the spirit of community, diversity, and excellence, we commit to advancing a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive community. That is, of course, the land acknowledgement and labor recognition as put out by the Office for Inclusion and Diversity here at Virginia Tech. And I don't know why I stumbled over the pronunciation and the tone of one of those sentences as though I thought the sentence was going to keep going. It's not like I read them once a week or anything. I do, in fact, read them once a week in case you are not hear that regularly. Anyway, for anybody who's new, this show broadcasts on 2 channels, so I may end up interacting with chat on either one of the channels. So if you hear me responding to comments and you don't see them in chat, they're probably just in the other channel's chat. But feel free to ask questions. Feel free to share humorous anecdotes about archives. Feel free to just engage as much or as little as you want. I usually, at this point, would share a finding aid. I don't have a finding aid to share with you today. But instead, today we're going to be in here. Although, if you want to drop the finding aid command, it has information about today's stream in it. So Archives Space, this is our internal database where we build the finding aids. So we'll be looking at some stuff in here. I have to be a little bit careful and look at some of the things before I show them on screen because I don't want to be sharing like donor names and addresses and things like that. But I think we can make it work. I just have to be slightly more careful. Hello to the captions on the VTUL Studios channel. All right. Well, we're going to figure this out. But apparently, when it is hearing the captions for the library's channel in that place, it is causing the music to skip. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to enable them. Okay. I'm hoping that the captions will work where I have just put them. So yeah, okay, cool. It appears to be picking up the words that I am saying, and now I should have captions on both channels and music that doesn't skip. So that's good. Okay. This is the start of our adventure today. A notepad, some Post-its, and just some empty folders. The tools, if you will, that I brought with me. I won't say they're the tools of the trade because there are more tools. And you don't even necessarily need all of these. The magical powers of a pad of blank sticky notes. So we're going to start with the audio cassettes. And I do believe that, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. I did not bring any plastic clips upstairs with me. I also didn't bring my micro spatula, but only because I couldn't find it. I know I put it somewhere so that I wouldn't lose it, but I don't know where that somewhere is at the moment. And I didn't have time to go look and see if we had an extra one. So if we encounter any staples, I will not be removing them today. I won't be doing metal replacement today. And we're not going to fully process things today. We'll just get a peek at some of the process. So I do not know much about this. There's an interdepartmental envelope. Tamara, whose name is on there, used to be the university archivist here. There's a Post-it that says this is accession 2015-077. So I'm gonna look it up. And we'll see if I have been idle long enough that I have to sign in again. Indeed not. So that's good. Okay, so ACC 2015-077. LGBTQ community at Virginia Tech audio cassettes. The information that we have, 6 audio cassettes, including 5 microcassettes, purportedly contain speeches about the LGBTQ community at Virginia Tech. One is labeled Bulimia, collected as part of the LGBTQ Oral History Project. Donor gave oral history, so these were given to us as a gift. We don't know date. 6 audio cassettes. I want to skip the agent links. Subjects, university history, sexual minorities. So this is all just basic information that was entered to note what we had received. But they've been sitting there unprocessed ever since. You'll note processing priority high. And it's been 8 years. So apparently not that high. Oh, wow. Actually, like, received November of 2014. Materials for digitization. Tapes need to be reformatted to digital files. Okay. Okay. Well, let's look at the tapes, and we'll see what we've got to work with. So inside this envelope is hang on. 1 second. Just gonna cover up the donor's name. Because while I don't think that they would care that much, I can just stick a little Post-it note over their name and then you won't see it and it won't matter. So inside the envelope, we have this printout of the information about the accession, as well as the tapes. So one large tape, like large meaning like this is a standard sized cassette tape. Unlabeled. So don't know. And then there are 5 microcassette tapes. Only one of them has writing on it, as far as I've been able to tell. And that is this one. All of the others, no idea. I will note, I brought a cassette player. I was unable to get the full-size cassette player to play anything, but I don't know if it's because there's nothing on the tape or if it was the audio connection. So we won't be able to fully determine today whether this tape has anything on it, because I can't do anything with that one on stream. I do, however, have the microcassettes working in part. I say in part because you'll be able to hear them. I won't. I can make it so that I hear them, but I might end up with there might end up being feedback, so I might have to mute my microphone while we listen. We'll see. The challenges of getting the audio to work, and I got it to work, and then I was trying to figure out how, I just didn't have all of the cables that I needed in the room, and I didn't have time to go and find more. So this is the one, I will just note as a warning, this is the one that written on it indicates bulimia. So there may be some discussion of that topic. So I'm going to pause the music and try to
A significant number of the women we have treated in college
give us some
typically they are bright, articulate,
audio
and needed a
from
little
the
more
cassette.
effective ways of dealing with their maladaptive eating behaviors.
I think.
So it's for this reason that we have always found the prognosis for bulimic women to be good. And we've seen many, many women, hundreds of women overcome these problems. I would say, though, that there are probably 3 groups of bulimics. The first is the main one that all of us are interested in, and those are the college students. And I think we could safely label the majority of them as neurotic and amenable to short-term crisis intervention models of treatment. My husband, Bill, at Cornell, every semester for 7 years has run very successful groups utilizing Big Sisters, women from the semester before that have made a tremendous amount of progress. And rarely do the women need a second semester that's available to them if they need it. So the vast majority of the women, for our purposes that we see, are amenable to short-term crisis intervention models of therapy, especially group therapy. We are known primarily for our group therapy, but I do also see a lot of women individually. And I should say that I believe that group is sacred, and I believe in really screening women very carefully. I made some mistakes by not doing that and letting a real resistant, pessimistic woman into a group. And these women are very suggestible anyway, and it's a lot easier to manage one resistant person in one-to-one therapy than to have 15 people going down the tube right in front of your eyes because of this one person. So I really insist that I see women on a one-to-one basis until I feel that there's a certain level of commitment. Some women will never go into a group for that reason. I also see couples in couple therapy.
Okay, so that cassette clearly has content on it, which is good to know. I don't know for sure if it has content on both sides. It was starting in the middle of one of the sides. So to fully process this, I would need to rewind it and listen from the beginning, see if it gives me the information about like who's talking, and stuff like that. I want to see if there's stuff here.
Little diagram number 4. Students every day, every week say, how do normal people eat? Well, that was a question I didn't have either, but I came into the thought that all eating behavior, and you can check this out with yourself, is a function of one's attitude in the 3 areas: food, weight, and physical health. Most of us,
Okay, so we do have content on both sides of the cassette, so that is good to know. Like I said, it would take some time because I need to be able to rewind it, and this does not, the player doesn't actually like fast forward or rewind very quickly. So I don't know that we'll take the time on stream today, but at least I know one of the cassettes has content. So far, the large, like the regular size cassette, I have not yet been able to identify any content on it. But again, I'm not sure if it's just that the player that I brought up here isn't working properly or what. We have multiple cassette players. Let's see if any of these other 4 have sound when I put them into play. Because this is basically the first step with a collection like this. Because the note says purportedly contains speeches. First thing, figure out which of these physical items actually has audio content on it. So far, I'm not hearing anything on this cassette. Oh, well. Sorry. I'm doing a quick rewind to see if I can get it to like the middle of the tape, where it's more likely that one of the sides might have content. And I can try and get this in the shot. I'm limited by the length of the cable, but this is the microcassette recorder / player that I am presently working with. Yes, tiny tapes. We also have the ability to do, like we can do, we have the equipment for standard cassettes. We have this player for the microcassettes. We've got 8mm audio. We've got digital audio tape, so a DAT machine, reel-to-reel, audio. So there's a variety of formats. There are definitely ones that we don't have the equipment for. So we do the best we can. All right, that's about mid-tape. So let me mute my microphone again so that I can hear, because I have to play it through the speaker. You remember using them entirely too long ago? Q squared. Honestly, I think this was still being used to record things in 2015 when I started working here. So I don't think there's anything on this cassette. Preliminarily, I'm just going to assume there's not, but we'll want to go back, either myself or probably have a student assistant go through and just spot check through both sides to confirm that there's no content on this cassette. But right now, this one seems to not have anything on it. And I'm wondering if all 4 of these that aren't labeled in any way are just blank cassettes. It wouldn't surprise me, but since they were in the succession that says 6 cassettes purportedly contain speeches, I need to check. The one that's labeled with the note about bulimia has an interview on it. We just have to find the start of the interview and probably digitize it and try to clean up the audio so it's more audible. But it's what minions are for, indeed. Okay, once again, I didn't get anything, but it's at the end of the cassette right now, so I'm going to zoom it quickly towards the middle of the tape. Again, just to hear, because the middle, I'm more likely to catch part of the interview on one of the sides of the cassette. Blue Rooster, you were an audio engineer? I have done, I've done a bit over the years with audio stuff. Before we hired our current technical archivist, I can't remember what we actually called the position, but our digital collections archivist. Before we hired them, I basically was the go-to person for all AV digitization within the department, most familiar with best practices, most familiar with the equipment that we had. It's sort of out of scope for what my job is supposed to be, so I'm not the primary one responsible anymore, but it is an area of interest for me. So I know a bit about it, and I like learning about it. I like to stay on top of it, but it's one thing that was sort of mine by default that I'm not primarily responsible for anymore. Yeah. Again, another one of these that's not labeled, and a quick spot check in the middle of the cassette. It doesn't seem like it has any content on it. And we'll want to do like a more thorough review. I'll look at these and just look to make sure that there isn't a label somewhere on the side that I can't see. But they're unlabeled, just like the two that we just looked at. I'm not going to spend the time to, on stream, check to see if they have any content, because sticking cassettes in and listening to the fact that there's nothing on them, not super exciting. Like, it's work that will need to be done, but it's not work that you need to watch me do, because that is not nearly as exciting as some of the other things. We used to digitize a lot of oral history interviews on cassettes and reel-to-reel. Awesome. So yeah, we've got at least one interview as part of this accession. The other 5 items appear to just be blank tapes, but we'll need to double check. Yeah. So I'm not going to spend a ton more time on this one. I pulled it simply because today was coming out day, and it was the only unprocessed LGBTQ related item that we have. I know more now than we knew before, and I will probably have one of our student employees review the other 5 tapes to see, and then my guess is we'll have one cassette to process as an item for a collection. Like, we'll have one interview. And that won't be too hard. Like, we'll be able to write a short little finding aid for the one interview. The hardest part is going to be transcribing it, because the audio quality is kind of muffled, and it'll make it somewhat difficult to make out what they're saying. Like, in the room here, I could hear that there was talking. I think I might know whose voice it is, and it may be the voice of the person who donated the item or the collection, but I'm not 100% certain, because I couldn't really make out what the words were, but that's more to do with how the audio setup I have in here, and the clarity with which I'm able to hear. We'll definitely be able to clean it up digitally to be able to hear more of it. I do have 2 document collections, though, that I would like to spend a little bit more time looking at. And for those, we can definitely explore sort of what processing looks like. Let's see. I'm going to pick a mood for the music. We started off with some chill lo-fi, and then we were listening to classical. How about we do some, apparently there are some folk music available? Possibly. It was. You heard the word bulimia at least once? Okay. I'm not surprised, because it said that it was going to be focused on bulimia, but I didn't hear it. So, hi Sterling. Okay. So, we'll see how this. I've never turned on the folk channel before, so we'll see how that is. The next one I want to look at is a very small collection. You can see this is a rather thin box here. ACC 2023-013. So this one was acquired this year, and it just says Jefferson, comma, O. So popping back over here to our database system, let's see what we can learn. What did I say, 013? Oh, ta! I typed into the keyboard, but the keyboard that I typed into is not the computer that is being shared on screen. Oh. It's accession. I'm so used to only looking at processed collections on this program. Okay. Othello Jefferson papers. So, this was a purchase. It looks like we bought it in February. Collection of letters, personal and professional papers, and ephemera relating to Mr. and Mrs. Othello Jefferson of Bluefield, West Virginia. The collection is primarily from the 1960s and has interesting content, specifically with quite a few items related to Roanoke. There are 20 letters, a newspaper from an African-American school in Roanoke, booklets, and some additional ephemera. What happened when I did that? Oh, interesting. Interesting that it does weird things to what you can see as I'm flipping between my desktops. I'm sorry. Note, there was no dealer description provided, and this collection contains a few documents relating to Othello Jefferson and some clippings and pamphlets, but the bulk of the material is letters written to Mrs. Othello Jefferson. I did some preliminary digging to try and find her first name, but I wasn't having much success. And then, so that was the note by Kira, who just did the initial entry after the purchase. When I pulled it for today, I looked into it just slightly, and so this next note is from me. These materials are likely related to Othello Maria Harris-Jefferson, a civil rights activist who taught at Bluefield State Teachers College. The college named Othello Harris-Jefferson Student Center after her. Her husband was Philip Grant Jefferson. There is a Wikipedia article about her, if indeed this is the same Othello Jefferson, which, considering it is related to Bluefield, West Virginia, and the name Othello Jefferson is not exactly going to be a super common one, I have a suspicion that as we dig into these papers, it's probably going to be the same person. So this is the Wikipedia article that I found when I started Googling Othello Jefferson and Bluefield, West Virginia. In which case the Mr. and Mrs. Othello Jefferson is exactly, because Mrs. Othello Jefferson is the one that's famous. And the name that we didn't know, the first name we were missing, was her husband's name. But the assumption very often when working with historical documents and you see Mrs. in front of somebody's name is that the name you're seeing is the husband's first name, especially with a name like Othello. Othello being the name of a woman, also not super common. So, but I ran across this article fairly quickly and fairly easily, and it seemed to track with the information I had just from glancing. I'll want to actually look at the letters and see if I can confirm, But this Othello Maria Harris-Jefferson, educator and activist from Texas, taught at Bluefield State Teachers College, and they named the student center in her honor. And then they actually have a little bit of like biographical information because she was a prominent civil rights activist. So that'll be useful if we are able to confirm by looking at the documents that this is who it is. And this even included that she married Philip Grant Jefferson in 1932. So we probably know the name of both of the relevant people. Okay, so let's look at some documents. I'm going to have to figure out how I can do that without it doing the weird transition for you all, because you don't need to see that. I just need to be able to flip from one thing to the next. Okay. Aside from the little bit of checking that I did, this part is very much like what Archival Adventures typically is, where we're going to look at some documents, and I've never seen them before. In this case, I really have no idea. Nobody's really had a chance to look at these yet within our department, and so we're going to learn together and see what we can figure out. And the information that we're going to be like gathering is what would be used to build our finding aid. So we've got the Roanoke connection, which is the whole reason we bought it, because it's regionally appropriate. It fits within our Southwest Virginia sort of regional interest or collecting area. So this is a letter from May of 1968 from Roanoke City Public Schools to Mrs. Othello Jefferson, Professor of Education, Bluefield State College, Bluefield, West Virginia. Dear Mrs. Jefferson, I am very pleased to present this book, Outstanding Civic Leaders of America, to you because you have done so much in order for this to happen to me. This is the second Who's Who I have appeared in. The first was Outstanding Young Men of America for 1967. Since this book went to press back in November, I have gained 2 additional honors. 1, Distinguished Service Award, Roanoke's Outstanding Young Man for 1967, and 2, one of the 5 Outstanding Young Men in Virginia. I enclose clippings, etc. Again, many thanks for all you have done for me. Your former student, Bernard, William B. Robertson, General Elementary Supervisor. And, okay. Yes, so former student of hers who appears to have gone on to be an administrator at the Roanoke City Public Schools. And just this letter by itself confirms that this is indeed the civil rights activist who taught at Bluefield State College. So we definitely have a start for the biographical note that we would be composing about her, because we can start at that Wikipedia page to begin gathering that biographical information and building that note. Okay, this music is just really loud in my ears, and so let me know. I'm adjusting the volume a bit overall, but do let me know if it gets too loud for you. All right, another one from Roanoke City Public Schools, Elementary Division, December of 1959. Dear Mrs. Jefferson, the 29th of January is being used as an in-service day for teachers of our city. Our faculty is interested in the improvement of language arts in our school. We are not as concerned with reading skills as we are in other phases of language arts, such as speaking, writing, listening, etc. We'd be very pleased to have you and some other person on your faculty to conduct a workshop on the teaching of the above skills. If it is impossible to bring someone, we would like to have you serve our faculty as a resource person for that day. We are anxious for an early reply. Please include your fees when you answer. Yours truly, Mrs. Thelma G. Williams, Chairman, Professional Study Committee, William B. Robertson, co-chairman. So the co-chairman here was the same person who just, who had sent the first letter. Oh, and we have a raid coming in from 16-Bit Eric. So welcome in, everybody from the League of Whimsy. It is good to see you. Welcome to Archival Adventures. And if you watch Eric's stream regularly on Wednesdays, then you likely already know. But welcome to Archival Adventures. I am Anthony Wright de Hernandez, which you would know me on the internet as Rogan27. And I'm the Community Collections Archivist at Virginia Tech. And so on Wednesdays, I share materials from our collections online, and we look at them and we learn, and it's an interesting and fun time. So today happens to be Ask an Archivist Day, and is a once a year sort of social media push. But since I was doing a stream, I thought, how about I just open it up. So if you have any archives-related questions, which I always accept archives-related questions, but if you have any archives-related questions, feel free to toss them out. I'm happy to answer. It's basically an Ask Me Anything within the realm of archives, and I'll try to answer. Hi, Baba Yeehaw. And the collections we're looking at today are unprocessed collections. And so kind of looking at what we can learn in order to be able to describe these so that people will be able to use them in the future. So looking a little bit more at what an archivist does when processing a collection than at the collections themselves. So slightly different focus today, but welcome in everybody. It is great to have you joining. I hope that the end of Eric's stream went well. If anybody is here who does not already follow 16-Bit Eric, let me encourage you to do so. Eric and the League of Whimsy are just wonderful. Eric's community is a very welcoming place and a very fun one to hang out in, and you're going to learn a lot about various topics, from tabletop role-playing games to entertainment unions to the history of various video games to Buddhism to, you know, whatever the topic happens to be. A lot of it is tabletop role-playing game related, which makes sense because Eric just happens to be one of the best GMs out there. And yeah, I encourage you to follow. So what we're looking at right now is some material that was purchased by us in February and hasn't been processed yet. And so the initial note on this collection said that there are 20 letters and a newsletter, and the bulk of the material is written to Mrs. Othello Jefferson. And in initially looking at it, the assumption was that Othello was the name of the husband, which is very common in older items to have the wife's name listed as like Mrs. John Smith. And finding her actual given name sometimes can be very difficult. In this case, however, Mrs. Othello Jefferson is Othello Maria Harris-Jefferson. And we have confirmed that based on the content of the first letter. And Othello Maria Harris-Jefferson was an educator at Bluefield State Teachers College in West Virginia, and they named their student center in her honor. She was also a well-known civil rights activist in the 1960s. So we're just digging in, glancing at some of the content of the letters now, just getting a sense of what is actually here. But we have confirmed who is represented by these documents. So, July of 1966, again from William Robertson. So again, this is on Roanoke City Public Schools letterhead. I have a little fan and it's blowing the, okay, I'm gonna turn it. There, it's actually not that hot in here today, unlike normal. Pleasure to be with you this past Saturday and to have been turned loose in the room with all of those audiovisual aids. It was most inspiring. I certainly wish to thank you for the interest you have always taken in me as a student and then as a professional. I feel that to a great degree, my success as a teacher can be traced to you. For this, I can only say thank you and continue to do the type of job you taught me to do and the type of job you expect of me. I'm eagerly looking forward to the arrival of the materials. My best regards to Mr. Jefferson, your sister, and the staff and students at Bluefield State. Okay, so far just like general correspondence, although the first one was nice of like thanking her for having been a good educator. Again, Thelma Williams and Bernard Robertson. It looks like she actually did take part in their workshop. So, my dear Mrs. Jefferson, we are filled with deep gratitude to you for your services in our language arts workshop. Being so deeply motivated to further this study, we are again appealing to you for assistance. We would like to go into the dramatic phase of language arts. Mrs. West, our supervisor, and other elementary school principals, and some of the teachers from the other schools are interested. It seems that a day's workshop could not do justice to this study. The question now before us is the how. Would you please consider these questions and let us know your reaction to them? 1, should we plan a series of workshops? If so, how many? 2, would Saturdays be a better time? 3, what part would we take as teachers? 4, what about the cost of such a project? 5, some teachers in other elementary schools are interested in the project, and how could we have them share financially? 6, what materials and supplies are needed? 7, if such a course could be arranged, would your school be in position to offer credit? Seemingly, we have adopted you, and we hope that you will adopt us and help us attain a more effective goal in teaching language arts in our elementary school. Interesting. I'm very confused by number 7. Just the inquiry of whether the State Teachers College would be offering credit for an elementary school course. Just seemed a little odd. But also, like, I am reading these much more in depth than I probably would if I was actually working to process this. Like, I do need to get a sense of what's here, but generally in processing, we don't have the time to sit here and read through every document like this. But for this exercise on stream, I'm fudging it a little so we can sort of spend a little bit more time with the content itself. It's with much pleasure that we're looking forward to your visit. Please inform us as to time and date. Okay, so that's just... application for short leave from Bluefield State College. March 31st, 1966. Oh, we're about to have some ads run on the Rogan 27 channel. So I'm actually going to bump us to the Be Right Back screen. The ads are going to run automatically, and they will, by running, there won't be pre-rolls when people arrive on the channel. But I also don't get to pick when they run. I snoozed them for 5 minutes. So we'll take a 3-minute break, and I will rejoin you in 3 minutes, and we'll continue with the show. Okay, the ads should be over, so I think we will return. Hello, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you were able to get a good stretch, maybe grab some water. This is only the second week where I have had the break in the middle, but taking a break after an hour for a couple minutes and then coming back to it seems like a good idea. Okay, so let's continue with this. Key Squared, I just saw your note that William Robertson's memoir was published by University of Virginia Press last year. So that'll be something that we might actually want to look at getting a copy of if we're going to have her papers, or some of her papers here, and specifically ones that include letters from him. I'm writing it down. There's no guarantee that we would get it, but it seems relevant. So we potentially would buy a copy. So anyway, it's a leave request to attend the 9th annual workshop in reading research to be held in DC, April 5th and 6th. And they don't need a sub. Okay, sure. And then there's a handwritten letter from Bernard, Mr. Robinson again. Let's see. Dear Mrs. Jefferson, my family and I certainly enjoyed the time you spent with us. It's really nice to sit and talk with someone who is really interested in you. I hope that the cold has cleared. The people here are still singing your praises. They feel that you did a wonderful job. I feel that the job was well done also. I know that you made a special effort to get here because of me, and I want to thank you for this. When you come down to teach motivation through puppets, we want you to stay at our home with us. Give my regards to Mr. Jefferson, your former student, Bernard. Wait, okay. I want to know more about teaching motivation through puppets. I wish to know about teaching motivation through puppets, please. I do not know if that's going to be in here or not, but now I'm very curious. Okay, so this looks like it is a page from a magazine or newsletter. It's a newsletter. Addison Spotlight. Lucy Addison High School, Roanoke, Virginia, March 1966. This appears to be about Mr. Robertson again. So I'm going to zoom in specifically to the article, at least in part. Addison alumnus receives Outstanding Educator Award. The Outstanding Young Educator Award, a very distinguished honor, was awarded to Mr. William B. Robertson on December 15, 1965 at the Patrick Henry Hotel. This presentation was not bestowed upon Mr. Robertson as the result of an overnight success, but it is the outcome of a never-ending effort that exhibited his determination to do the best in whatever he encountered. After graduating from the Lucy Addison High School in 1950, his desire for knowledge led to his enrollment in Bluefield State College, where he graduated in 1954 with a Bachelor of Science degree, having majored in social studies. Immediately, he re-entered Bluefield State, where he majored in elementary education and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in it. Still, the importance of furthering his education inspired him, so that he has attended summer school for the past 2 summers, which eventually led to his 1965 graduation with a Master of Science degree in School Administration Guidance. Since Mr. Robertson has spent many days within the walls of an educational institution, much of his knowledge has been enriched by his everyday classroom experiences. Aside from his profession, Mr. Robertson has rendered many services to our community. Let's see, I'm going to scan. In an interview, Mr. Robertson was asked, did he consider this award as his greatest achievement since the beginning of his career? He replied, I consider having been the first Black recipient of the Outstanding Young Educator Award presented by the Roanoke Junior Chamber of Commerce as my highest achievement, because in this era of integration, the award showed that the Black teacher is fully capable of handling any teaching situation. It is my sincere hope that the award will inspire Black students to work to their maximum. If they do this and hitch their wagon to the stars and climb, success will eventually be theirs. And yeah, I think we'll just drop the historical terms note just one more time here, because we're looking at historic documents and we're going to encounter language that could be slightly out of date. If I'm reading it aloud, I'm going to update it. Even though that was a quote, I'm not reading it with that word. Let's see. I want to see if it mentions Othello, which right now I don't see a mention of her, which, I mean, why would it? But I'm beginning to wonder if this collection of papers is really about her or if it's about him. We'll have to see. Like, I'll need to continue reviewing, because this might just be like, yeah, I don't know. But so far, everything seems connected to him, but not everything is actually connected to Othello. Right. We have a copy of the Richmond Afro-American, which appears to be published by the Richmond Planet. This is from August 10th, 1963. It has some damage to it. I don't know if we have any other copies of this paper in our collections. We have a bunch of like old papers, but we don't have a lot of the old the papers from marginalized communities like this. I would love to have them. Like, I would really, really, really like to have them, but we don't. I'm scanning to see why this one is here, and so far I haven't seen any of the names that we've run across jumping out. If somebody does see and wants to like shout at me in chat that you're seeing exactly the reason why this is here, feel free. So far, I don't see. Dorothy Height, John Dillon, Ernest Edwards Jr., Ada Jackson, yeah, I might have to, it might just be a newspaper that is here without any specific connection to anything, which happens. I don't see a reason immediately as to why this paper is in here. So it might just be, it might need a little bit more time of like actually looking at all of the articles to see if any of them relate. But it also could just be a copy of the newspaper that happened to be in with this set of papers and is unrelated topically. Let's see, Pioneer Beauty Secrets, Old and New Cosmetics from the Kitchen, edited by Fern Shelton. Oh, wait, there was something about the school board. D squared, thank you. Where? Did you see what page it was on? Oh, lawyer named to school board post? Norfolk, Virginia, Hillary H. Jones Jr., 40, became the first black member of the city's school board when he was appointed by unanimous vote of the city council. A member of the NAACP, Jones has practiced law here since graduation from Boston University in 1959. Heads up the Citizens Advisory Committee Subcommittee on Education, which is trying to determine the major problems related to educational opportunities for black children. He has held that the basic need of black youth here is equal educational opportunities. Jones said that although he is a member of the NAACP, he is not on that organization's executive board and does not know what the reaction will be to his appointment. I am pleased, he said. I will do all in my power to assist other members of the school board to obtain the best public school system. That was the whole article about the school board. So again, not directly connecting to the names that we've run into already, but Hillary Jones is the grandfather of Virginia State Delegate Jay Jones, but that doesn't help. It's interesting, but yeah, it doesn't give us a reason why this paper's here. I don't know how much time I would spend on trying to figure it out. I might just stick it in a folder and call it, note that we have part of, like, the first, I don't know how many pages are actually in this paper, but we've got pages 1, 2, 7, and 8 of the Richmond Afro-American. So we have a book, Pioneer Beauty Secrets. So my theory of things being about William B. Robertson not moving towards where we want it to be. Let's see. Early beauty aids in America were made in settlements and frontier kitchens using herbs, honey, juices, vinegar, or other supplies on hand. Whether she used beauty secrets inherited from her grandmothers or tried experiments of her own, the inventive pioneer woman was constantly seeking and finding ways to protect and beautify her body, home, and garden. Interesting. Okay, grooming aids, old and new cosmetics, and then garden and insect control. This does, again, not seem to have a direct connection. I might spend a little bit of time just making sure that there aren't, like, credits linking specific people to specific recipes, but it doesn't look like there are. My guess is that what we'd end up doing with this is separating it from the collection and just cataloging it as part of the rare books collection. It definitely fits in with a lot of our history of food and drink collection. We've got a number of things with sort of women's home guides and stuff like that that would have a lot of crossover with the idea of cosmetics and pest control, and it's full of different recipes. We've got herbal remedies and folk medicine type stuff. So definitely in line with stuff that we have in that collection. So this will probably just be separated material that we catalog as part of the rare books collection. Okay, so we have a letter here from Roanoke City Public Schools again to Mrs. Othello Jefferson at Bluefield State. Except this envelope does not go to this letter. Can you tell how I know that this envelope is not for this letter? "1959 is less than 1965. Indeed. So that was the second indication. You couldn't see the first indication, but the letter is on Roanoke City Public Schools stationery, or the envelope is Roanoke City Public Schools stationery. The letter is Bluefield State College letterhead. But yeah, the letter is dated January 4th, 1965. The envelope was stamped by the Postal Service on December 4th, 1959. It goes with this letter that we looked at earlier. So I'm just going to move the envelope. Generally, we try to preserve the original order of things, but reuniting the envelope with its letter doesn't seem like it's going to mess anything up in the order of the items in here, because so far it doesn't seem like there is one. And that envelope definitely doesn't belong with this letter. Let's see. Okay, so this is addressed to Dean Joseph I. Turner, Chairman, Committee on Student Welfare and Personnel Services. Pursuant to our conference at 10 a.m. today and a late afternoon meeting regarding the disciplinary actions of your committee herein contained in this letter, I am using this means to give official sanction and concurrence of the college administration to your recommendation. At my request, the committee actions have been transmitted by letter to each of the 2 students who are involved, repeating the position of the institution on it and its policy on law and order. Careful study of the arrests of 2 Bluefield State College students who participated in demonstrations at the Bluefield YM and YWCA. The following actions of a disciplinary nature are taken. Committee on Student Welfare and Personnel Services has compiled a lengthy report in support of the following recommendations to the President. Quote, that automatic suspension from the institution for a period of not less than 1 semester be imposed upon Clarence Williams and Fred McKenzie at the time the convictions for charges of assault are upheld by the highest and final court to which the cases may be appealed, and that a stern reprimand be given with rigid observations of campus activities of Mr. Williams and Mr. McKenzie in the immediate future and until such time that final hearing of the cases has been had. If anybody feels inclined, do you want to check and see if there's any information about Clarence Williams and Fred McKenzie with regard to the civil rights movement of the 1960s? Because I have a suspicion that they may show up. It is to be noted that such recommended disciplinary actions are taken in defense of the institution's standards in support of law and order. The college does not condone lawlessness among its students or employees, and therefore full concurrence is given to the above recommendation. Evaluation of the merits or legal aspects of the cases is not here attempted. It is to be further noted, however, that the institution recognizes and does not seek to enjoin the rights to demonstrate and to picket peacefully. These disciplinary measures are taken solely on the grounds of alleged assault, for which the convictions are now being appealed to higher courts. According to college records of the 2 students who were convicted, the Committee on Student Welfare and Personnel Services reports acceptable social conduct an average or above average scholastic performance for the entire period of the student's enrollment at Bluefield State College. The institution requires of all students proper social conduct at all times. On and off campus, disorderly behavior shall not be tolerated. Signed L.B. Allen, president. So that is, copied to members of the faculty, which is, I'm guessing, why there's a copy here, and that Othello received it as a member of the faculty. And then next, a letter from the academic dean to instructional staff members at Bluefield State, June 1st, 1967. A hotel in Bluefield was integrated after a 1964 sit-in, but you're not seeing names listed, so may or may not be relevant. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not, I've never actually gone to Bluefield, so I don't know a whole lot about its history. I'm pretty sure I've driven through it, but I've never had a burning desire to drive there from here. I want to see how far it is. It's about an hour and a half from campus, from Virginia Tech's campus. And I've definitely driven through Bluefield, or at least past it. But yeah, I've never had reason to go there. But it is very much like right on the border between Virginia and West Virginia. Let's see. Apparent shortly after the appointment of Dr. Hardaway to the presidency of the college that certain forces were being directed at many of us who had been here for a length of time. Confrontation. I was not concerned with developing a new image. Okay. I love the end of this page. Let's see. My philosophy, I was told, was not in agreement with that of the president's. That is, I believe, a most desirable and to be sought for state of affairs. If we are both to be effective in our respective positions, there is no reason for the existence of one of us if we are in constant agreement. During this December conference, it was stated that I would not keep the faculty quiet. One of the duties of an academic administrator is, I believe, to encourage differences of opinion, not to stifle them by prophesying possible catastrophic results for the dissenter. It was also pointed out that I was uncooperative in the hiring of new staff members. My role was not uncooperative, but more like that of the devil's advocate. If, however, in advocating equitable remuneration for staff in parallel positions, newly appointed staff members with less preparation and experience should not receive more salary than their better prepared and more experienced counterparts, I can be classified as uncooperative. I plead guilty. I have not been, nor will I be, cooperative in this type of endeavor, which is incidentally continuing. Oh, wow. I mean, that discussion of salary compression and that continues to this day on this campus. Interesting. So this is I am now preparing to leave Bluefield State College. Okay, so uncertain why this is here. I guess it was addressed to instructional staff members. So we've got the letters from William Robertson. We've got a newspaper. We've got the book of recipes. And then we've got some, it looks like, administrative letters from Bluefield State. This one's specifically addressed to Othello Harris-Jefferson. So useful that. I was happy to hear from you and find that you were enrolled and getting along well in school. This is July of '68. I was also happy to hear that you were taking courses in audiovisual methods and reading difficulties. I hope that we will be able to use your up-to-date knowledge when you get back to BSc. I think you made 2 excellent choices in areas that can be of great value to us immediately. You are scheduled to teach audiovisual the first semester as an elective, 2 semester hours. I am sure you will be able to make this a good course even with our limited equipment. You will also be teaching primary methods and teaching of reading, which are, of course, in the professional block. I would also hope that we can limit your other classwork enough that you can spend a lot of time working with students in the reading laboratory. I think one of the greatest services the education department can do for the students is to teach them to read, as we have often discussed. Okay. So again, another just like administrative. This one is on letterhead from Bright Hope Baptist Church, March of '65, addressed to Othelda. I assume it's Othello Harris-Jefferson. I thought you would be interested in the enclosed tribute to our late friend Jean Jones. I don't know that we have the enclosure. We have an envelope, December 15th, 1959. I do not know. This is Roanoke City Public Schools again. December 15th. This is the envelope for this letter. I think. Because that letter is on Roanoke City Public Schools letterhead and dated December 14th. And the postal stamp is December 15th. Yeah. So the envelopes have been separated from their letters a bit. There was a very impressive flounce. Key squared, you're not wrong. It was definitely a very impressive flounce. Bluefield State College, Mrs. Othello Jefferson, acknowledge receipt of your report on the American Teachers Association membership. Again, more administrative letters. Let's see. This is another Bernard Robertson one. I recognized the writing, so I assumed that was it. Dear Mrs. Jefferson, I have been meaning to write you for some time, but I'm just getting around to it. I hope that you and Mr. Jefferson had an enjoyable Christmas. Ours was very enjoyable indeed. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Here in Roanoke, I have enjoyed success in my teaching position, and it's because of the training that you and Bluefield State College gave me. I'm constantly striving to do an effective job because I know that whether the results be good or bad, it will not only be a reflection on me, but also my teachers and the college. I've been saving this article to send you. It concerns a project I carried out this past summer. The daily paper thought it worth doing a story on. Give everyone my best regards from my wife and me. If there's any additional information you need, please get in touch with me. So this is dated January 3rd, 1960. So not referencing the newspaper that we looked at earlier. And I don't know if there's another one in here. Oh, there's one here. This might be it. let's see what date this is. So what I'm getting from the envelopes and just looking through this, it seems like things are not necessarily in order. And I'm not seeing an order. That is also not the newspaper, so we might not have the enclosure. An envelope from February 2nd, 1960. It's his handwriting, but I don't know if there's a letter dated near then, so I don't know exactly where that envelope goes. Envelope February 16, 60, January 4th, 60. This one matches to the letter that we just read. So a variety of envelopes. Definitely, envelopes got separated from their letters throughout this collection. Potentially useful to future researchers who need his return address from that era. Yeah, sure. Inauguration of Leroy Banks Allen as the 6th president of the college at Bluefield State College. So we've got looks like a program from that inaugural ceremony with notations. Lovely. Some notes about like some names of looks like maybe speakers or things. There's a note about the processional. Interesting. Baccalaureate from 1960. This one, the letter's inside the envelope and on onion skin. Oh, let's see what we got. Very shiny. April 24th, 1967, Wendell Hardway from William Robertson. Dear President Hardway, please let me take this opportunity to convey to you my heartiest congratulations from my family and me as you joined the large family of Bluefieldians as the head of this truly outstanding institution. I say outstanding because I have been a part of it for 17 years as student and then alumnus. I know what the institution has done for me through the school and truly dedicated professors such as Mrs. Othello Jefferson. I have been able to rapidly move up in the field of education and make significant contributions to my community, state, and nation. Neat. So it definitely seems like there's some, the material in this collection is specifically not related to her civil rights work. It is related to her professional work as a professor at Bluefield State. And we've got sort of two series. We've got the letters from William Robertson. And we've got more like internal faculty, administrative type correspondence from Bluefield. Those seem to be the two sort of categories of letters that are here. This one is from Burton and Burkett, attorneys at law, addressed to President Allen of the university from Walter Burton. January 22nd, 1963. Oh. Dear Mr. President, I am writing this letter on behalf of Miss Annetta Slaughter, Princeton, West Virginia, and Mr. Claudius Watts of Bluefield, West Virginia, concerning their suspensions or dismissals from Bluefield State College on January 18, 1963. Please be advised that I am not charging these young people any fee and will receive no fee, remuneration, or reward for my intervention in this matter, and I thought that you should be made aware of this fact. For the last 35 years, I have been acquainted with Ashford W. Slaughter, the father of Annetta Slaughter. In fact, he is the janitor here in the law building, which I own and has been for many years. He therefore consulted me about this matter because he and his wife, as well as his daughter, are very much disturbed about this suspension. I have no hesitancy in saying that Ashford Slaughter is one of the most honest and honorable citizens that we have in the city of Princeton. And there can be no finer person. And that also applies to his wife. I do not hesitate for a moment to have his reputation investigated if you have any doubts about it. I would refer you to Mr. E.E. Bailey, president of Princeton Bank and Trust Company, and to Mr. W.W. Myers, cashier of the Princeton Bank and Trust Company. I would also refer you to any of the officials of Appalachian Power Company whose offices are located in this building, the law building here in Princeton, to Dr. J.I. Markle, to Dr. F.C. Goodall, and I could add many others. Mr. Slaughter is truly a fine citizen. But we go from page 1 to page 4. I don't know where pages 2 and 3 are. We'll just elide into may be reinstated and permitted to finish their year in school without further embarrassment to the young people, to the college, or to anyone else. I apologize for making this letter so long, but it seems to have been necessary, and I again, in conclusion, implore you to reconsider this matter and give these young people another chance. Thanking you to let me hear from you, and with every good wish, I am, yours very truly, Walter G. Burton. So apparently a lovely argument about why these students should not have been suspended. Unfortunately, we're missing the entire argument beyond Annetta's parents have a good reputation. That's the only part of the argument that appears to be present here at this time. Oh, you shared the obituary in Discord? Thank you, Key Squared. I'm very curious what the rest of that letter was. But again, I would class that one as falling under the realm of those administrative letters, administrative/faculty letters from Bluefield State College. Peggy and Whirlwind present the Johnson Bar. If you like it, act like it. I don't know that we're going to... Yeah, we're not going to get to the railroad one. Apologies if you were interested in the railroad collection. I can feature it on another stream if people want. Just let me know. This one is accidentally relevant to today's other theme. Let's be gay while we may. Yeah, although different meaning of the word, but yeah. Let's see. Peggy and Whirlwind present the Johnson Bar. If you like it, act like it. Drink with impunity, or anybody that invites you. Limited supply. Fill up early. Let's be gay while we may and seize love with laughter. I'll be true as long as you and not a moment after. I will say, I am not actively encouraging you to go out and drink with impunity, or anybody else for that matter. But we do have a cocktail history collection. It's a subset of our history, food, and drink collection. So here's to the love that lies in woman's eyes, and lies and lies and lies. It definitely has a sense of humor. It's definitely a slightly misogynistic sense of humor, but not as overtly misogynistic as a lot of the stuff we come across. Yes, please drink responsibly. Did the invite suggest drinking the guests? I don't think so. It suggested drinking with impunity or anybody else that invites you. So they've got, let's see, whiskeys, rye and corn whiskey, various varieties. Is Raisin Jack a rye or a corn whiskey or a combination? I'm very confused. They have 2 columns and that one's in between the 2. Here's to the man in the moon. The fuller he gets, the brighter he grows. Wines, Italian and French vermouth, rice, dandelion, pear, port, and sherry. Here's to old wine and young women. Gins, Dixie Belle, London Dry, and Slow. After 40, you'll need me. Punches, Virginia eggnog, North Carolina eggnog. I wonder what the difference is. Recreation punch. That's one where I feel like we've got to have a recipe for recreation punch somewhere. Here is to it and to it again. And if you get it, I'm going to take that from the top. Here is to it and to it again. And if you get to it and don't do it, you'll never get to it to do it again. I think these are intended to be read while you are inebriated. They're just tongue-twistery enough that a group of people attempting to read them while intoxicated would laugh themselves onto the floor. It's October, there might be vampires. Indeed. Now I need to make a D&D tiefling named Impunity. So drink with impunity or the people who asked you to come along. Understood. And then they've got creme de Peggy. I'm sorry, what? I've never heard of creme de Peggy. If anybody wants to take a quick look and share for me, what is creme de Peggy? Is that an actual alcohol? Nothing else here seems like it's not. Peggy and Whirlwind present. So indeed, Key Squared, it might be just something unique to this. Please, oh wait, okay. I do know that we're about at time. Let's see, Whiskey Flips. That's a lot of work to make a flip. Tom Collins, Stone Fence, Silver Fizz, Sherry Flip, Royal Fizz, Pink Lady Cocktail, Orange Blossom, Cherry Bounce a la Whirlwind. So Peggy and Whirlwind. Manhattan Cocktail, Horse's Neck. I've not heard of that one before. Golden Fizz, Gin Sling, Gin Ricky. Adonis Cocktail, Egg and Sherry. Homebrew a la Virginia A, Gin Cocktail, Ritz Cocktail, and Martini Cocktail. Key Squared, I also had that thought that it might just be really tacky innuendo. Alas, for those that never sing, but die with all their music in them. For the baby, non-alcoholic. A whole section, soda cocktail, milk fizz, New Grape, Purple Nectar, Coca-Cola sodas, ginger ale, and orangeade. A whole section of non-alcoholic cocktails. I don't necessarily agree with calling it for the baby, but mocktails, as far back as whenever this was, which everything else in here is roughly 1960s, so I would imagine this is probably about the same time frame, but we don't have a date on this. A drink and the world drinks with you. Swear off and you drink alone. May you live as long as you want and never want as long as you live. We hope you like it. Pull off your shoes and have a stinking good time, I think is what it says underneath the remnants of that sticker. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Hannah. So one folder in this collection, at least, would connect it to our History of the American Cocktail collecting area. And we would want to make sure that this cocktail-related item was called out in the finding aids so that people would be able to find it. It looks like this one also is cocktail-related. It's got, oh, I think this is from her husband. Because to Philip, a very swell guy, Amy. For he's a jolly good fellow, Alice. If I were sober and the car would stop, I could invite more and better. Possibly Trent, but I'm not certain. I could write more and better. Oh, yes. Thank you. It is write, not invite. Hi, Shadows of Life. Yeah, Milk Fizz. I would have to look up to be sure what a Milk Fizz specifically was, but basically a soda, but with milk. August 30th. Something from Atlantic City to, I'm guessing, Baltimore, Maryland. The sport was in some kind of time in Atlantic City, and we had a hell of a time getting out of Philadelphia. Next year, we'll do it all over again. Interesting. Phil, life begins at 40. So this appears to be maybe like a birthday card type thing for her husband. Floor show, celebrities, Detroit Red, Jackie May Wesley? I'm not sure. Blanche Calloway and band, Coleridge Davis at the piano. Yeah, so this also is going to be specifically an item that would fit within our history of the American cocktail, but is also possibly related to Othello's husband, Philip. Nowhere on here does it specifically say a last name, but a lot of the things are signed to Phil. So, potentially. Birthday party in a bar, and everyone wrote well wishes on the menu. Yeah. Old Reading Beer ended production in 1969. Key scored, thank you. Let's see. Then we have Mrs. Othello Maria Harris. Change a community's image. Reflect aspirations. Eugene Wyman Jones, or Wayman Jones. It's in In Memoriam. So this is a memorial service program, it looks like, for this Eugene Wayman Jones. So I would want to take the time to like read at least the biographical on him, to know whether I need to specifically like include a historical note or a biographical note about him. Dr. Eugene Wayman Jones, founder and director of Heritage House, will be remembered in Black history for his sacrificial contributions and deep concern for the cultural arts. Okay. And then there's just 2 more items in here, and then we'll have to gander at the railroad stuff another day. From the Office of the Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. January 6, 1971, Mrs. Othello Jefferson. Dear Mrs. Jefferson, it was indeed my pleasure to talk with you yesterday. I am quite proud and happy to know that you will be at Columbia University. This is a real tribute to you and the outstanding work that you have done in the past and will do in the future. My family and I are doing quite well. The challenges of the governor's office still excite me a great deal. Our home address, give Mr. Jefferson, his sister, and everyone in Bluefield our very best regards. It's another letter from William Robertson, who was special assistant to the governor in 1971. So, yeah. And then there's a newspaper here. I don't know what newspaper it is. Emphasis on writing in schools. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time, but so somewhere in here, and I would need to specifically find, I'm guessing it's this, yeah, Eureka Park Youngsters Learn Books Can Be Fun. Again, it's Robertson. So in processing this, I see sort of 2 series and then a couple of just unrelated, like things that aren't part of those series. And I probably would approach it in that way. I don't see that there's a lot of specific order already here. So what I would end up doing, and what will probably end up happening with it, since I've taken the time to go through it, is there will be the letters from William Robertson to Othello Jefferson, and that's one folder. There will be the faculty correspondence, the administrative faculty correspondence from Bluefield State College, and that's another folder. I'll have to dig in and just glance a little bit more thoroughly at this to make sure it's not specifically related somewhere, to make sure that Robertson isn't mentioned somewhere. Otherwise, this will probably just get a folder on its own saying that there's an issue of the Richmond Afro-American in here. This one, I'm going to separate and we'll catalog it individually. And that's probably how it's going to go. These 2 will go together in a folder about cocktail-related items. And I will include a note that it's possibly related to Philip, her husband. But yeah, generally it's going to be the 2 letter series that will be the bulk of this collection and how it gets described. There will definitely be a biographical note about her, probably a biographical note about William Robertson. Yeah. But so in just the time that we looked at it on stream today, and granted, this is a very small collection. But in the time that we spent looking at it, I have a basic structure in my head of how the collection will be organized when it is described so that people can find things to be able to use them. Because we're not going to sit here, we don't describe down to the level of the item. So there's no way that we have the time to do that level of description. So it'll just be folders. But yeah, that is where we're going to have to leave off the content. Baba Yeehaw, thank you for stopping by. It was great having you join, and I will see you in the future. The other one I had planned to look at today that we're just not going to have time is a bunch of stuff from Norfolk and Western Railroad. And we can definitely look at that on another stream sometime in the future. It's slightly more stuff, but I think I very much enjoyed what we ended up looking at. So I hope that you did as well. Let's see, what are we doing next week? If you give me but a moment, I should be able to share with you what the plans are for next week's episode. And yeah, did anybody have questions? Nobody was like throwing like archives questions at me, but if you have some quick ones, feel free to drop them in chat. Otherwise, it's fine. You can always ask them on Wednesdays here on Archival Adventures. Oh, next week is Alaska Day, isn't it? Got distracted by the cool collection. Yeah, so next week we have, I don't know exactly. I think, I don't know if it's the only item or if there's other stuff because Sterling selected the items and the topic and set them down, and so I haven't really seen the stuff yet. So it'll be like an unboxing, and I will see it for the first time that you, at the same time as you do. I believe there's at least one of the items is an architectural collection, but Alaska Day, which apparently is a holiday, sometime near the 18th of October. We'll learn about it next Wednesday when we look at materials related in some way to Alaska on Archival Adventures. Yeah, we went from Ask a Day to Alaska Day. Indeed. Okay, so let's see, where are we looking for Alaska? I don't know. I truly, honestly do not know what Alaska Day is or what it's all about, but I'm interested to find out. Okay, we're gonna be raiding to a place with other people who do the streaming. Okay, let's see who's around and what they're doing. Well, yeah, I'm going to throw it over to Stephen Joyce again this week. Stephen is a wonderful streamer, has a lovely, lovely community, and Stephen wears tiny hats, and it's just an all-around good time. Also very, very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community, and given that today is not just Ask an Archivist Day, but also Coming Out Day, I feel it appropriate to head over there and say hello. So if you would join me for the raid, pop in over there, say hello, that would be wonderful. We'll be heading over there very shortly. And thank you all so much for joining me. I hope that this was interesting and fun and educational, and I hope I see you back again sometime in the future. Until I see you next, keep exploring history.